Are we live yet on the Facebook?
He'll put a note in the chat when we're live.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome back to Tuesday Topics. We're glad that you could join us tonight. We pray that you continue to be blessed as you started a new week and that you are finding a place for God in your lives, in your hearts. Tonight, we want to just remind you that we're taking on different topics every week to speak, to learn, to grow, and to live happier, healthier lives. So last week, we spoke with Yvette from the University of Maryland. She spoke with us about navigating through the new normal of COVID-19. We wanted to just remind you that if you have any questions for our guest speakers, to feel free to write those in the chat box if you're joining us on Zoom, or in the comment section if you're joining us via Facebook or YouTube. Again, we thank you for joining us. Oh, we want to invite you also, share that link with your friends or start a watch party if you're watching on Facebook. We don't want anyone to miss the opportunity to continue to grow. So tonight, Pastor Macena, who is with us?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Those that are watching us on Facebook and those who are here in Zoom, welcome, everyone. So tonight we have Pastor Diego Boquer. He is the pastor for Baltimore White Marsh. I always mix that church, but anyway, Pastor Diego, is glad to have you here. And I'm excited about the topic today for various reasons. But the first one, I guess for me, I have two Generation Z in my home, and Pastor Diego is going to talk about Generation Z. He's going to tell everything for us tonight, but it's a blessing, Pastor Diego, to have you here with us. Tell us a little bit about you, about your ministry, your family, where you're from. Share about your life a little bit with us.
Sure. So anyways, as you, I think most people know that we are from the same country. We're from the same tribe. So originally from Brazil, been married to Helen for the last almost 10 years. Our anniversary is coming up this year, our 10th year anniversary. Pretty excited about that. We got married on 10/10/10. We never planned for it. We didn't even think of it. That was the only date it was available. And I was emailing Helen, hey, the only date that they have available, that the pastor is available, is 10/10/10. And I was just like, whoa, this is pretty cool. So anyways, yes, we got married 10/10/10. It's our 10th anniversary. We got two beautiful, gorgeous kids. Gabriel is 3 and almost 3.5 years. And Hannah is going to be turning 1 year old this Sabbath, August 22nd. We're very blessed to have these two kids. We're not planning on having any more. But we're very blessed with the two that we have. God has blessed us tremendously. Again, as you mentioned, I'm the pastor of the Baltimore White Marsh Church, an amazing church, great people. I'm honored to be serving with them. And they're very patient people, especially this COVID-19, as I'm trying to wrap myself around it and be a blessing to them. They've been a huge blessing to my family. Yeah, I think that sums it up.
Good. My friend, once again, we are glad that you are here joining us today. I think this topic is very important for not only for the parents, but for each one of us who are attending a church. Not only if we are a church leader, but we see all the teenagers and Generation Z around us you used to see them every week. But anyway, they are around us. And how do we deal with that generation? What are the characteristics of this generation, and how can we help them to know more about God and minister to them as well? All right, Sure. So that's the topic tonight. Pastor Diego, the time is yours. Please go ahead and bless us with your message tonight.
Sure. Well, again, thank you so much. I'm really blessed to be here. It's my honor. As many of you know, Pastor Paul and I and Pastor Debbie, with the Baltimore White Marsh and the Ellicott City Church, we're a partners church. We have a lot of things going on at the same time, and it's an honor to be part of it. So can we pray? Shall we pray? And just invite God again to bless us right now. Yeah. Father, in the name of Jesus, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. I just pray would bless us right now, as this is definitely an important message to everyone around us. We love these people, the young people, and just please bless us right now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yeah.
All right, so just give me a minute, then I'm going to try to put share my screen here. And I'm going to present it first with the slides, and then we're going to go into like a Q&A, okay? So let me share here. All right, so just takes a second. Now, can you guys see the slide?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So anyways, at the end of this presentation, I will show you the sources where I got it from. So I got, like, of course, from leading research on this, but also from personal experience. Okay. But let's just first of all, basically, excuse me here. Let me just put this book aside. And the first thing that we need to do is pretty much define who are they. I mean, what is the Generation Z? Who are they? First of all, we need to understand that they are those that, excuse me, they are those that were born born between 1996 and 2010. Okay, so that's pretty much the Generation Z. So if you have kids who were born after 1996 and before 2010, they technically fall into that category. And as you may have noticed, they are between the millennials, the generation millennials, which I'm a part of, and the generation alpha, which is generation after 2010. And of course, it's hard for us to pinpoint major challenges with them for professional life, because of course they're only about 10 years old. But it is a generation of itself. And there are some current studies right now, so you guys are aware of this, that there would be a mark on generation on 2020. There would be like COVID babies, or babies that were born shortly before or after 2020 and 2019 because of the COVID situation. So, but anyways, that's the ones we're looking today is Generation Z. So this message is about connecting with them, leading them, connecting them to God. And so pretty much is about leadership. And again, nothing really different on this, but leadership is nothing more, nothing less than influence. This is not my words. I wish I had come up with it, but it was John Maxwell. He's a leadership guru, and he's the one who came up with this. And that's definitely what it is. You may think, I'm not a church leader, I'm not leading any ministry, but if you are somehow somewhat influencing the life of a young person, absolutely you are exerting leadership. And real leadership is based on real, genuine relationships. It is a relational, it is not a dictatorial or some sort of like, I tell you what to do and you got to do it because I told you so. It is a real relationship with them. So what I'm going to do this in this short presentation is mention 8 things that we must know to connect with the Generation Z. I mean, it is no guaranteed if you know these 8 things, you will connect with them. But I can guarantee you now, if you don't know them, you will not connect with them. All right. So this is very important. Of course, in my church, I have some, but Pastor Paul as well, Pastor Debbie works with a lot of young people we know. We are surrounded by them most of the time. Sometimes they reach us through text messages, through Instagram or different apps. They really want to engage, and there are at least 8 main characteristics that I like to bring out. First one, they are digital natives. What does that mean? Basically is that, since they understand themselves as a human being, like, I'm a person, I can make choices. Like if they were born in 1996, okay, and the first iPhone came out in like 2004, 2003, the end. So they're about 7-8 years old when the first iPhone came about. So they don't know, they were not even born in a world without the internet. They don't know what it's like. I know what it's like, a world without the internet, but they don't know. So naturally, they are inclined to digital media. They just know it's just the world. Okay, it's much easier for them to grasp things. This is their world. Especially now, it is cell phones and connection through social media. That's big time. One of the main characteristics of this generation. The second thing that a lot of people miss is that they're highly entrepreneurial. You have never seen such an entrepreneurial generation in anyone's lifetime. You can see, I could mention several different examples here, but you can see several guys who were literally 22, 21 years old, and they already millionaires. An example, I don't know how many of you guys know like Mr. Beast. I came to watch, to know who he was during this pandemic. He's a YouTuber, and he has over 30 plus million subscribers to his channel. Let that sink in. 30 plus million. And he's about 22 years old. He runs a multi-millionaire enterprise. Of course, he has a lot of help, a lot of people who help him behind the scenes. And what does he do? Honestly, I'm not recommending to watch, but it's just some pretty silly videos. Some like things that are like, why would anybody in the world in their right mind watch this? But they do, and they get millions and millions of followers. And there are many others. I had a chance to meet some guys as well that they're about 13, 15 years old. They were, with the help of their parents, investing in a restaurant and trying to run a business while going to school. So anyways, just know this. This is a generation who is highly entrepreneurial. They want to be financially free, and they will do anything they can. They do not want to work for somebody primarily. They want to work for themselves, and they are usually quite creative. It's one main characteristics. The third one, excuse me, is diversity, especially in North America, in the United States and Canada. There has never been a more diverse generation than this. You will find of any different backgrounds, and as you can see, our region here in Baltimore, it's a melting pot. Anyways, just so you understand, they will be coming from many different backgrounds, and their parents usually came from other countries. So they have the American or Canadian lifestyle. They are Americans, they are Canadians, but they also inherit the heritage from their parents. So it's a mix. Fourth characteristics, very important, is that they have a tendency to religious pluralism. What does that mean? It means that is that there is a little bit of truth in every single religion, and really, no, there's no one single specific source of faith. It is quite common among them, and especially because again, they're born the younger, the eldest, the older ones were born in 1996. The younger ones were born in 2010. So many of them are not even in college, but a good chunk of them are in college. So they have not yet been able to solidify their understanding of theology and science and all of these things. So they do have a tendency to believe, oh, there's a little bit of good in everything. So religious pluralism is a big one. The fifth one, it's very crucial for us, is sexual relativism. This not only when it comes to actually having sexual intercourse before marriage, but in the sense that they do believe, many of them, that if you, even though you were born as a male, if you self-identify yourself as a female, I mean, that should be it. Nobody should tell you what to do. Nobody should tell you who you should marry. If you want to marry a guy, you're a guy, go ahead. You want to marry a girl, go ahead. And you will find this, especially right now, when they reach the fifth and sixth, like fifth, sixth graders, they start talking about dating and making out. They are already several little kids in this generation who are having same-sex relationships. They don't know how the body develops. Nobody ever told them that when you're developing yourself as a man, as a girl, you might find somebody of the same sex looking good. A guy may find his friend, but he's a nice looking guy, or a girl may find out there's a nice looking girl. But because it is so messed up right now, just because they find something with a nice appearance or that looks good, they think they are sexually attracted. And because of the pressure of society, there is an actual pressure of society now for you to go and follow your heart and do, just follow whatever it's in your gut right now, in your feelings. There's a huge number of these kids right now. They're just pretty much, everything's relative when it comes to sexuality and their identity. Everything is good. Everything is fine. As long as you're not hurt anyone, as long as we love everybody. Again, it's a huge point of this generation. Next one is that they feel very much overwhelmed. They feel overwhelmed with schoolwork. They feel overwhelmed at home. They feel they just feel overwhelmed. Social media pressure for them is huge. Peer pressure, so online bullying, social media bullying is huge for them. So these kids, like many of us, like when I was in high school, I mean, there was internet, of course, but we didn't have like smartphones. So there's no pressure of social media, of Snapchat or any other platform that they're using right now. If they make one little mistake right now, any other friends or any classmate can just pick up that video, that message, or that picture and share it with hundreds, if not thousands online, and they will be bullied to death online. So it is a huge pressure for them to be who they are. They hear these messages again of these young guys, who says, "Do whatever you want to do." I'm a multi-millionaire, and I'm 24 years old, and they feel, "Whoa, I'm 17. I'm still living in my parents' home. I want to get out of here. I want to be independent. I want to be my own boss." They have this fake pressure of the world that sells itself quite appealing, and they feel very much overwhelmed with expectations from parents, from teachers, from school, but primarily from friends as well. Something quite interesting, the seventh characteristics about this generation is that they suffer loneliness. Many of them feel very much lonely. And it is quite a contrast, right? Just think about it. I mean, they've never been so connected online, but it's still, they feel lonely. Less and less kids can actually say they have a true friend in life. Fewer and fewer of them say they have a true relationship with somebody. So what the kids happen is this, that they you guys can see this. I even have one of the pictures here. They just meet, they're around a table, and you have 10 kids, 10 are looking on their phones right there. And they're looking at their phones, they're watching somebody's video, they're watching TikTok, maybe not as much now, right? Because it's been banned. But that's what they're doing. So they're having a hard time connecting with people emotionally. They can't express themselves. And when they deal with their parents, they usually shut themselves. They don't want to hear the parents because the parents usually it wants their best, but the parents coming from a parental approach, don't do this. This is not good for you. Please stop doing this. And they shut down completely. They don't talk. They don't want to hear. They just completely ignore, and they suffer huge amounts of loneliness. And loneliness basically is, in a very simplistic way, is like this: is that you don't feel anybody gets you. They don't think their parents gets them. Some of the friends will, some of the friends won't, and they feel pretty much lonely. And the last one is they are highly individualistic. It is a generation very egocentric, very selfish in many aspects. It's about individualism to the extreme. And here's the thing: what is so interesting is this, that at the same time, the millennial generation and the Generation Z, uh, they really want to help out the world. They want to change the world. They want to help people. They want to help the environment. They want to be the saviors of the world, but they want to make sure they're on the front pages when they do it. They want to see their names. They want to see they want to see that the world is seeing that they are doing. It seems like they want to find some sort of justification for the existence. They want to let everybody know, here, I have a mission. I have a purpose. Look at me. So it is a very individualistic generation. And it's something that we could use for good potential, knowing how to use with them, and turning to really altruism in blessing others and not think of themselves. But it is a challenge of this generation. So almost done here. So what? The question then. So, okay, we've just saw quickly these 8 characteristics, things that we must know to connect with them. What difference does that make? Well, let's go to the bottom line. First of all, you want to have genuine relationships with them. It has to be genuine. You has to be real. You cannot have an ulterior motive by, I just want to make friends with them because I'm the leader now and I have to make friends with them. That's not going to work well with them. Second thing is transparency. They can smell fish. They can smell if something is it's off. Just be transparent. You don't know the answer, say I don't know. You afraid this is gonna like tank? Just say it. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Just be transparent. Tell about your issues. They look up to people, to the leaders. Some of them think I'll never be like this guy, although they wanted to. Just tell them honestly. You have issues in your marriage. You have issues at school. You're not that smart in school. You got some C's and possibly D's, or even you failed. Just be transparent with your issues. Next thing is be positive when you compliment them. Just be positive. Try to find things that they're doing well and be positive. Give them compliments, because this goes a long, long way. Just a quick story. I remember when I was, and actually I was in the seminary in Brazil, and this big, huge pastor, he was like the South American Division Youth Ministry Coordinator for the whole division. He came down, he was giving talks. Everybody knew him. And there was a little moment there in which they asked some of the students to go up on the stage and talk. I mean, it was jam packed, like 2,000-3,000 students in the gym, and they asked me to do something, and I just went up and I talked something. I don't even remember what, but then at the end he came and said, "Man, young man, I really liked what you said. You're studying theology to be a pastor. I think you should be a pastor." Years later, finally, of course, when he did that, it made me feel so good, man. This guy from that position saying this, wow, I was on cloud nine. Many years later, I finally understood. I don't know if he really, wow, this boy is really good. That was not the case. I just think, what he said, he had vision. I'm going to encourage this young man, because I know that if I encourage him now, this probably will help him to make right decisions in the future. So you have something to say about positive, say. If you don't have something nice to say, just remain quiet. Quick example again. This happened. I saw an elder. In this case, a good church elder, very well intentioned. This young man, at the time, he was 16 years old. He had not been in church in 3 months. 3 months. And I was texting him, calling him, and yo, man, come to church, whatever. One Sabbath, he finally came to church. I was super excited to see him, and of course, he is a teenager. And one of our elders who liked the boy, again, very good elder, not a bad guy, not a guy that would say, no, get out of here. No, he looked at the young man, he hugged him, but says, man, don't you know better? And pointed. This young man was wearing a crucifix, like a necklace with a cross. But he pointed at him, you know what? This is not good for you, man. Why are you doing this? And this, I could see the young man was like, at that point, he was like, whoa, I haven't been here in months. And the first thing you do is like pointing this thing. I mean, is this so big? So if you don't have something nice to say, don't criticize, especially with them at this time. Don't be negative with them. Don't be afraid to talk about taboos. Talk about the things that no one else is talking. I mean, no one else you think is talking. What I mean is this. You think they don't know about sexuality. You think they don't know about rape, about vaping, about drug addiction, about pot. They know. But chances are they're not hearing from the good sources. So as leaders, don't be afraid to talk about sexuality, premarital sex, homosexuality, sexual identity, vaping, marijuana, drug addiction, alcohol in high schools, alcohol in the bathrooms. Talk to them about those things. If we come with a humble attitude, they will listen to us. Next one, empower them. You have a ministry, empower them. They want to do things, go for it. Let them, help them do it. Give them the reins of the ministry and help. And if they need to make mistakes, let them make them. They will make mistakes like you and I make all the time, and they will learn lessons. So any chance you have to empower them, go ahead and empower them big, big, big time for their ministries and activities and careers in life. And in a sense, challenge them in the right way. And this is quite subtle to say, but I had an encounter with another elder once that said in the day, everybody in the church had to obey him or do what he said because he was an elder. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's pretty much what he said. I had to tell that elder at that time, he says he did not quite understand what eldership was. And that was not the case. But he had, he took upon himself to go around and molesting, especially the young people, trying to set them straight, put them in the right path. Of course, needless to say, that man did not last as much as an elder in that church, but also he did cause a whole lot of pain among the young people. So, how do you know when you can tell a young person about something that they got to do, they got to change, something that is not nice about their lives? And here is the key: you have earned the right when they come and they ask you something about it. When they develop a relationship with you, when they call you by name, when they like you, and when they're coming to you with questions, simple questions, at that time, you begin to earn the right with them, especially this generation. Before you tell them what to do, whatever, you got to make sure that you earn the right. And you have earned the right when they come and they begin asking you questions sincerely, honestly, out of their hearts. One last slide here. If you guys want to take a look where I got most of the content, is www.pewsocialtrends.org, and also from Sean McDoyle, PhD, professor at Fuller University. And one thing for the parents that I'd like to say here, I'm no longer sharing my screen, right? I'm not sharing my screen.
Right.
Okay, cool. So one thing I'd like to show the parents is this, parents. I'm not there yet because my kids are too little right now. But here's the thing, and this is for every single generation that parents have ever parented, okay, is that the parents are the most influential and the least influential upon their kids, depending on the age. Right now, you have the most influence indirectly. The friends in this generation, they have the most important influence upon their lives right now. You as a parent, you have indirectly. So you need to work with friends around or other people. Your kids are more likely to listen to another person, to another pastor, someone else that they trust, they came to like, than you as a parent. It hurts me to say this because I know one day I'm going to be there. Right now, as a pastor, I'll always try to encourage the young people in different ways. So I hope that one day when my kids get to the age that I'm no longer the authority, the major authority in their lives, the major influence, other people will be able to do for us, for me and Helen, when they will no longer listen to us. Because, you guys are parents, your kids, sometimes they just don't think you know what you're talking about. And they're more inclined to listen to someone else than you as a parent. So it is a fine line. You will come back to be the most influential person in their lives. But during this season of life, it is harder than usual. Anyway, sorry guys, I probably talked for too long, but this is it. Thank you.
Not at all. Thank you. We're excited to hear more. Especially, I'm a parent with 3 Gen Zs, and they've hit that nice teenage level there. And one thing that I wanted to kind of bring back up, you spoke about them being individualistic. One thing that I read recently is that they are all their own brand.
Yes.
And they just create their own brand of themselves, and they put themselves out there in a way that probably most of us cannot understand. Can you talk more about that concept? Maybe?
Well, sure. And again, it goes back to the part of being overwhelmed, right? Just think about it, right? As we were developing ourselves, especially like in high school, you're scared. I mean, your deepest fear is to be bullied, to be rejected, to be the laughing stock of the class. And they had the same fears. They want to be accepted for who they are. But here's the thing: what nobody's telling them is that people are always changing. We're always learning who we are and identifying ourselves. We are growing. We're not like a static, the same Diego who married Helen 10 years ago, it is not the same Diego as today. What we have to tell our kids is that their identity is in Christ. And Christ is going to make something beautiful and will keep on making something beautiful out of them. So today, this is who they are in this way, in this format. And tomorrow, they will change because they will grow, and that will be okay. And sometimes I think we have so much pressure upon them, be yourself. They don't even know who they are yet.
Yeah.
right? They don't know who they are, and they're trying to figure that out. So as parents, as leaders, give them space. They're trying to figure things out, and sometimes we've been so far along from that period of life that we're trying to figure things out. Just let them figure it out, and we're there to support them.
Well, and it feels like even if you're not even dealing with the fact that it's so long ago since we were that age, that even it's just they live in such a different world than what
Yes.
we lived. Our world was different than our parents' world, but not like this. This is just so extremely different.
Yes, yeah,
Mhm.
it is a challenge. It is like a wild world out there. It's a jungle out there that we were not raised with that sort of peer pressure, social media pressure, right?
Mhm.
Especially among peers when you want to be accepted. And here's the thing, guys. Last year I had the horrible experience of having to bury a 18 years old young man in my church, and good young man, but making a summary of the story is that he had many issues, in being rejected in different places just because who he was. And he was a nice guy. He was no problem with them. But some people rejected him because either he was chubby at times or whatever. And then he found some friendship with drug dealers and people that just accepted him the way he was.
Mhm.
And for the first time in his life, he really thought he was accepted. So he began getting involved in drugs and everything else. And long story short, he was under the influence of marijuana, at least when he killed himself. So,
Wow.
and it was a tragedy, heart wrenching tragedy. But because he was accepted by the wrong group. If the church does not accept them how they are, if they want to dress in a way that we don't accept or whatever, let them figure it out. Don't shun them. Because when we reject them, I can guarantee you that Satan will accept them.
Mm.
And this is not the Jesus we know. Jesus accepts us just the way we are. And Jesus told us, go ahead, Paulo. Yeah, Paulo,
Yeah.
want to say something, Pastor?
Yes, that on those lines, those who are watching us have some questions, please, you can put on the chat or on Facebook. We're gonna do our best to give to Pastor Diego. There is one question here already. We're gonna ask the question in a few. But following up what you're saying now, Pastor Diego, you just mentioned the sad story about this young guy that he took his life, and when comes to church, the many of our young people, they also feel rejected by the church at large, in the sense like, the church doesn't understand me, place is not for me. Sometimes the church is being judgmental about them. How can we as adults, how can we be more compassionate, more understandable in practical ways to help the generation that it is in front of us?
Thank you, Pastor. And of course, right? I think that we all wrestle with that, right? But I'm like, um, it brings shivers down my spine that Jesus said that if we make one of those little ones sin, it is better for you, to wrap it like a rock, a stone around your neck, and throw yourself in a river, because Jesus takes that very, very seriously. Jesus loved the little children, and Jesus loves the young people. So, this is me. My unfortunately, in a sense, is my nature. I don't like anybody messing with, especially with the young people, or
Mhm.
being judgmental, or putting them down, or trying to set them straight. Okay. Of course, there's got to be order. There's got to be respect. There's got to be reverence in the house of God, but this is like good manners. Okay. But one thing is for sure: the church needs to understand that we cannot judge him by our own standards. Okay, because it's very easy. No, we look at this generation. Let me give an example. We look at the generation, says, "Oh, they're like immorals. Their sexuality doesn't matter." But hey, hang on a minute. 50 years ago, black people could not stay in the same place as white people in this country. So, if I were born here, I'll be asking my grandparents. I mean, where were you when this stuff was going on? You see what I'm saying? So we like comparing them to our morality. Oh, we are married and we have our spouses. No, we're not sleeping around. So this is terrible what they're doing. But they looking back and says, where were you guys when this racial inequality was taking place? Where were you? So they're very keen aware of this. So the first thing is this, don't go around putting them down, criticizing, base them on our standards. Second is just honestly befriend them just for who they are. And there's nothing like feeding them. We know this, right? Pizza around, like s'mores around the fire. Just spend some quality time with them. Before I had kids, I had a lot more time to spend with my young people. Since I have family, especially little ones, the game changes completely. Like your whole life revolves around your kids, and it's a lot more difficult. But church leaders, you have kids in this age, or I would say, welcome to your house. Let them come in and let them talk about their movies. Just hang out with them. And when we hang out with them and we care for them, that's when, and then they start asking questions. That's when really the influence takes place. For the more mature church members, who like their church in a way, the things in a way, you know what? Just get out of the way. If you don't like it, don't agree with it, fine. But when you were young, back in those days, I can guarantee that the elder in your church didn't like what you were doing either. So you know what? And they got out of the way. So for those who are like setting their ways with all respect, not trying to offend anyone, just get out of the way and let them take charge, let them take leadership roles and participate in different things. I mean, that's just a bottom line summary, I guess.
We have a comment on the Facebook page here about being overwhelmed. With everything that they are dealing with, it's just obvious in my mind when I watch my own Gen Zs that they're easily overwhelmed. And the comment says, being overwhelmed also comes from comparing our behind the scenes with people's highlight reels on social media. We forget people don't show their struggles or talk about it. So that makes us feel alone and like something is wrong with us and I can see it. My kids, what's happening in our home versus all these YouTubers they're watching. If they're trying to keep up with that, if they're trying to create their brand or all of that would be overwhelming and impossible, but a reality that they're living with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what they were competing against. You see some social media like Instagram and Snapchat, but I'm not on a Snapchat. You can't do everything, right? But like I have Instagram, and sometimes you see some young people, they're like flying helicopter, and you just look, man, I know I don't even have a bicycle yet, and they compare to that, and they just feel like so small, so irrelevant, so like I'm nothing. I'm good for nothing. I can't even get an A in this class or whatever. So yes, they do feel overwhelmed, especially they have to understand they need to compare themselves to who they are right now. And they have to plan out their lives, of course, but they got to take their time. And that's why it takes a lot of patience from us nowadays. It takes to support them, to love them, and encourage them. Like as you mentioned, I can only imagine what it's like being a teenager today. It can only imagine. And barely imagine that.
So
Just one thing I want to mention that I think Yannick, right, is making a comment. As one of the Pathfinders lead, should kids have questions about sexuality, etc., should he answer questions to the best of our abilities, or should we get permission from their parents? It's a very good question on there on the chat box here on Zoom. I would say this. Of course, as best as possible, always talk to the parents, but you plan out programs, say, guys, going to be talking about this, in my church, I've preached on sexuality and some hard topics a couple of times. And we always tell parents well in advance, that on that specific day, we'll be talking about this, and parents make their own decisions. But I would encourage, as a leader of the Pathfinders of the youth, is always tell the parents, what? If you think your kids don't know what we want to talk about to them, you're wrong. Chances are that they are. As we know, we participate. You guys know, my city, my passion. I had kids coming up to me saying, "No, they were vaping in school, and they were dealing with sexual issues," and the parents have no clue. Their parents didn't even know they knew what vaping was, and they were vaping. So it's a huge gap there between what the parents think that the kids know and what the kids are actually doing already.
So, Pastor Diego, how can we help talk now about the parents, especially, the ones who has a younger kids, like, 12, 13, 14 years old. When comes, there is a question here also about being overprotective.
Yes.
How can we help the parents to have a balance between, doing what's supposed to do and give freedom for the kids and not crossing over, being overprotective? I guess, we are all guilty as parents of that. We are all overprotective. I think that's the nature of the parents. That's what we do best, being overprotective. We are like that. But how can we not be so overprotective that we are taking away the things that can help our young people to be responsible in their homes and in the community as well?
And Paul, it's a great question. I don't think I have a lot of wisdom to share on this because I'm not there as a parent. Okay. And of course, one thing, I've read many books about parenting before. And then when you have your own kids, you're wondering what in the world was that for? Right? Because it's completely different. The Lord has a way of humbling you when you become a parent that I'm telling you, I was knocked down and knocked out completely. But basically what I would think is this, the older they get, the increase responsibility, but there must be also an increase in freedom, right? You're not going to let a 5-year-old decide, what they want to do, where they want to go. No, parents tell them all the time what it is that it must be done. And the child must, learn how to comply to that. They fight, they scream, but they eventually, it's easier because they're a little one. They're going to do it. As they get older, you start assigning more chores around the house. You start giving more responsibilities. And I would say this, the freedom needs to be equivalent and proportional to the responsibility. If you have a 16, 17 years old who wants to drive her own car or wants to go wherever she goes, but she doesn't take care of curfews, she's not doing well in school, she's being mean and negative, she's slamming the door in her house, in her room, and yelling at parents, she has not earned the right or the maturity to be able to drive yet. So this is, what I have learned. For every new freedom that they want to have, fine. But freedom comes with responsibility, coming, coming home in the right time with curfews. And again, I'm just giving this a general principle that I've read and that I've heard, that they go hand to hand. So parents, you got to ask God's wisdom, and somebody else that would be more equipped to having kids in their own age right now to share something. But as in this time right now, that's the best thing I can think of now, Paul. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Let me give my 2 cents on that.
Please.
I have one that is 18 years old. I have another one that is 20 years old. And I think one of the things that I see that, being the church at the same time as my kids growing up, is sometimes the parents, they are afraid to tell the kids their place. So you cannot give a 10 years old an iPhone. You cannot, give the freedom for your kids to watch TV, whatever they want, and be on computer anytime they want. And give them a smartphone. And at that young age, of course, when they are 12, 13, 14, it's done. You cannot take away anymore. You cannot control it. And as you're saying, Diego, as they grow older, yes, you give them more freedom. But sometimes I'm afraid today, and I'm seeing as a pastor, kids 12, 13 years old, they are running the house. They are the ones, saying, in living the way they want to live. I think the parents, they need, take hold and sit down. One of the things that I think many parents needs to do is to sit down with their kids and say, you know what, I didn't do right when I allow you to have this video game for any time you want. From now on, you're gonna have 1 hour a day, and that's it. You're gonna cry, you're gonna, whatever. But life goes on. I'm afraid that you're not giving the kids the balance, the parameters, and say, that's it. That's the way it should be. you know. And we all, as a parents, here's the thing: as a parents, at the end of the day, we all make our mistakes. You know, more than once I sat down with my kids and I said, you know what, I allow you guys to do this. I'm sorry, my bad. I shouldn't have. So from now on, I need to correct my mistake. You know, and when you sit down with your kids and you try to explain to them, you know, not fighting with them, not, hey, now from now on you're going, no, that's not going to work. But if you sit down and say, listen, this is not going to be good for you. Here is the reason. There is research that's saying that's not going to be good for you. My mistake. So let's correct that. You know, I think so, as parents, we have to, you know, to correct the mistakes we are making with our kids, and then try to do the right thing. You know. So, Pastor Diego, you talk about the relativism. You know, about our kids being, especially when it comes to church. You know, I mean, when it comes with sexuality, you know, this relativism in their lives, you know, how can we help our kids? Because, you know, as you're saying, the question that came is Pathfinders are 10 years old, you know, and Pathfinders 10, 11, 12, 13, goes to 15 years old. I mean, they already know everything. You know, they have these kids, they have a smartphone. They unfortunately, they are being bombarded with all the music, all these videos about sexuality. How can we help our kids, you know, to make a right decision about everything they're seeing nowadays on their smartphones?
Sure. Well, I guess the first thing is this. We got to be very careful with how many devices they have around the house. And I would highly encourage parents add like parental guidelines and protections for cell phones. So no sexual content, you know, at least pornography could not be reached by this young generation. You know, I wasn't raised in a Christian home. You know, my first exposure to pornography was about 13, 14 years old. For some kids, that's like, wow, you were old when you were, but still that affected my life for a very, very long time. And it is not an easy thing for you to deal with. It's got to be really the power of God, people to help you to deal with this, because, you know, I wasn't even a Christian, didn't even know Jesus. And he affects you for a very long, very, very long time in your life. So the first thing, again, is make sure that you have some sort of protection which they can have access to. The second thing is really just from the beginning, with humility, with love, teach him, you know, that, you know, he's a boy, she's a girl. With Gabriel and Hannah, you know, well, of course, Hannah is a year old. She doesn't understand anything, but Gabriel, he understands, and he's a boy. And there are times in which, you know, Daddy and Gabriel are going to do boy things, just the guys, you know, you go, that's just the guys. And he cherishes it, you know, just explain that there is an actual difference between boys and girls. And in our society, we just want to be so embracing of everything. And we just wind up forgetting the biblical principles. The Bible says God made man and woman, male and female, he made them. So there's no in between gray, 50 shades of gray in there. It's just one, black and white, male and female, period. So, and with humility, we have to do this with love and care. Here is a major issue, Paul. And of course, there's a whole lot of discussion, but if you go in Africa, they say, you know, it takes a tribe to raise a child. A village takes a village to raise a child, because they have a sense of community. And what happened is that because they don't hear only from their parents, they hear from the community. The kids are more inclined to listen to it. Look into Hispanic families. Many different countries, but they have one thing down. You know, the kids must respect their parents. They must. So the kids grow up, they may be rebellious, but when they go a little older, then they have to respect, you know, padre and madre. They need to understand. So, but they don't hear only from their parents. They hear from where? From the community. It is the collective set of beliefs, the tribe, that enforces it. We are in such a society in church that I cannot tell you what to do. You can't tell me what to do, especially in the in the North American context, in which if my kids are playing together with another kids and I tell me, no, this is not good, you should not be doing this, a parent may get offended because he doesn't believe that. So it becomes more difficult for just a family to instill those values, but it is still doable. Daily family worship with love, with patience, with care. You do it. It's not gonna be overnight. It's like a lifetime. Gabriel is 3 years old, and it's like every day we have family worship with them. Every single day, we're trying to instill godly values, and it is a challenge. It is a challenge. It's a daily thing. Think of the long haul, not the here and now only. You're building their characters for eternity. Just have that perspective, I would say.
Well, then you're actually kind of segueing in quite nicely to my question. My thought was the religious pluralism. It is so hard with the access that they have to different ways of thought and different ideas. That they get to an age where, like you say, you don't want to keep them in a bubble forever. And you want them to question what they believe and solidify their belief, but yet they're being bombarded via the YouTube, via the internet, and all that's available to them with so many different ways of thought. I never really thought of it as them becoming, having this issue of religious pluralism. There's a little bit of truth in everything. Yeah, I can kind of see that, but the fact that they don't find a solid truth in, even in our religion that we've raised them in, that we've done our family worship with, we've done our weekly Bible lessons, we've done Pathfinders, we've done Adventist education, we've done everything we can, and yet they have access to so many other ways of thought that they actually, instead of solidifying what they believe, it pulls them away. Do you have any advice for parents that are facing this battle?
And it's definitely a challenge. I'm not gonna say that's an easy thing, because it is not. I'm a former atheist, and in atheism, I went to really searching, asking questions, and what my experience was, the more I scrutinized the Bible, the more solid the Bible came out. And I would say, first of all, we have to teach our kids uh, basic, basic philosophical argumentation. Sounds like crazy, but for instance, there is this opinion now. It's an opinion that almost every opinion is equally valid. Okay, everybody has some truth. So, and I can explain in a very simple way. If I hold this, like this book here, I was preparing something for my sermon, and I'm holding this book here. It says basic, of biblical Greek, for instance. Okay, and I tell them, what is this? They're gonna say it's a book. They says, no. What if I tell you this is a chicken? It is not a chicken. No, this is, well, to me is a chicken. So if I say this is a chicken, then is this a chicken? No, it doesn't matter how long I call this a chicken, a goat, or whatever. This still remains a book. So then we say, so not all opinions are equally valid. Correct? Correct. So they have to come to, of course, this is where after they are teenagers, they need to understand abstract thinking. Okay. That's not going to work for little guys. When they begin understanding that, there is actual absolute truth, because, one of the arguments, there is no absolute truth. And then the comeback is, how absolute is this statement? Because this statement, it's self-defeating. You see what I'm saying? If I say there is no absolute truth, I mean, that is a absolute statement, right? So even the statement is self-defeating of itself. So when we begin teaching them like simple philosophy, but like really simple teaching them how to rationalize, teach them how to make sure that point A links to point B, I think that eventually they will start making connections. Because as you said, we cannot shun it away. We cannot keep it away from this, because you know what? It is out there, and they will be exposed to this. That it will come to them. And we just have to pray that we teach them how to make the right choices, and they will ride the wave. the storm will come, just like it came for every single one of us. And the Lord was faithful enough to bring us out of that storm. We have to trust the Lord that if He was faithful to bring out of the storm, He will also help our kids to go through it. And again, I wish I had a better answer to know, more insightful, but I think that's the fear of every parent. Our kids will go through the storm just like we went through.
And you actually made me think of something, and that is one of the concepts that I learned with even with younger children is that we tend to believe what we hear first.
Mhm.
And that tends to become our belief system. So
Sure.
if we as parents, you know, going along the idea of sexuality, if we could address these thoughts and these lines of thinking before they hear it outside, and we establish a truth within our homes on these topics, we could help prepare them when they hear it. Oh yeah, I know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but this is the fault in that, or
Yeah.
Yeah,
etc.
and Paul, let me interject quickly here, and Debbie, this is so powerful what you're saying,
Yeah.
because and that's one of the things we mentioned. That's why you have to begin building since they're little, because if you've never had family worship with your kids, period, you've never, you're watching YouTube or Netflix, or you never make time for God in your home. When they turn 13, they're officially teenagers. You There's a whole lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
You can't do it at that time anymore. So
Mhm.
it is earlier. And when they become teenagers, you're building the foundation now. You're building the foundation, but then you have to prepare them for college, because the moment they go out to a secular college, they take philosophy 101,
Mhm.
and they abandon their faith if we don't prepare them for that. So yeah, it's very good point. Prepare them for that. Tell them what they're gonna hear, and teach them why you don't believe that.
Yeah. So it is one of the things that unfortunately our time is ending here. Those topics we could start, keep talking and talking about it.
Absolutely.
But I think there is one rule that as a parents we should understand is this. If I Because sometimes we start wondering how old should I start talking about sexuality or about this whatever topic out there. So one thing is this: if you are giving a technology, a smartphone, iPad, computer, unsupervised to your kid, you already missed the boat. Because if you're not talking about this, he or she are going to see this online. It takes seconds for it can be 7 years old. It's gonna take seconds to change from one video to another video, and that's it. So that's why I think one of the problems that we have today, yes, we have all these issues about technology in our kids. One of the things that you mentioned, Pastor Diego, is overwhelmed. And one of the reasons our kids are overwhelmed is because, this is scientific. I mean, you can just Google and you're going to find out that psychologists are saying this over and over again, that our kids are overwhelmed because this too much information they are getting from social media and all that stuff. So, and then we give it all this technology free for our kids, that they can, from 7, 8, 10, 12, and so on. And then we wonder why they are like that. So again, I think we should go back and say, okay, I shouldn't give all that freedom, for my kids, because they're too young with all this technology, all this information. It is overwhelmed, to have all this information, not know how to
Process it.
process everything. So, but Pastor Diego, just for us to, it's 8 o'clock already. So give us your last thought, your last tips for us, how to deal with Generation Z. And then, maybe the next time I have to call you back, that we can continue to talk about the Generation Z.
Sure. I would say this, if you forget everything I said, and there's one thing you need to understand about Generation Z, is genuine relationship with them. Genuine, just be yourself, be transparent, and have a good and solid relationship with them. As a parent, parents, you're not just their buddies. Of course, you want to be their friends, but you're not their friend. You're their parents. But as a church leader, as a pathfinder, as a youth leader, make sure you have a sincere, honest relationship with them. And I do understand there are a lot of leaders possibly here who have their own kids and they're small, they're little, and it's a challenge. Like me again, as a pastor, whew, it's a challenge to be able to do all of those things and still have my kids. Trust on the church, pass on to the leaders, make sure you have leaders who will be able to connect with them. Guys, the sermon I'm preaching this Sabbath now, I'm going to mention this past month, June actually, there was an increase of 25% of suicidal thoughts among young adults, including Generation Z, not just millennials. 25%. That means that out of 10, two and a half or whatever are actually seriously consider suicide. That's a huge jump. So they are struggling with things. We have to be genuine. We have to connect with them. We don't want to change them. We don't want to, make them better. We want to be there for them and guide them through that path. The Lord will be with us. I mean, that's the best I can think right now, because it is a challenge, and I just pray the Lord will continue to give us wisdom as leaders, as parents, to be a blessing, because they are a fun generation, an amazing generation with huge potential. Like, they will drop your jaw, they will surprise you, they will inspire you, they will like you be at awe of the things they can accomplish. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for coming for Tuesday Topics and sharing this, very important topic to us. Thank you for those who are watching us on Facebook and Zoom. May God bless you, and I hope to see you next week in our next Tuesday Topic. Amen. God bless you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.